Welcome back to HBO Girls Rewatch. I'm Amelia Ritthaler.
And I'm Evan Lazarus, and we have our first guest on the podcast.
This
our
is
dear
so
friend.
major. Dear friend of the pod. She's an absolute rock star, pop star, actress, comedian, singer, songwriter, and
gorgeous.
we're just so excited to
You
have her.
responded any of the other words, and I said hot and gorgeous, and your face lit up.
What really lit me up was when Evan said hot and gorgeous.
Yeah.
Guys, get your hands clapping for Esther Fallick.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here.
We're so
Y'all
excited.
been talking about this podcast for a long time.
We finally are
And
launching
here
it.
we are.
I can't believe it.
We're honored to have you as our first guest. We're kind of nervous though.
Don't be nervous. Just, you are enough.
We respect you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, I respect y'all.
In 2023, you're our whole world.
Is that true?
In the year
Yeah.
2023, you're
Oh
our
my
whole
God.
And it's only
In
the
this-
beginning.
It's only the beginning.
world. Mm-hmm.
Esther, immediately we have to know, where were you when Girls came out?
Wow. Okay, so when Girls came out, I was just like the rest of you in the Obama era.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it was a different girl back then.
This is a political podcast, FYI.
Yeah, exactly. And guess what? I voted.
Oh,
Whoa.
And I had hope.
For who?
Obama.
Yeah,
it's
right.
so cool Esther was old enough to vote.
Well, not in 2008, but in 2012.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And in 2008.
Still cool.
It's so cool.
And let's see. I was at the University of Michigan majoring in musical theater.
Okay, the other two.
The other two. And
Wait,
yeah.
do you know Helena York personally?
No, she's older than me.
Oh,
She voted in 2008. I voted in
Is it the
2012.
Got it,
blonde
got it,
girl?
Yeah.
Oh, she did musical theater.
She did musical theater.
are
She's-
there
oh
any
my God,
famous
that's why she's
people
so
from
annoying.
your grade?
Yeah, Erica Henningsen from Mean Girls the Musical on Broadway.
She's been playing Katie for so many years, and she'll continue to for years to come.
For
I
a
believe,
long
right?
time. I think she's going to have that. I don't think anyone else is going to play that role. Basically, the show came out when I was still presenting as a man, but my sister was living in New York, and she was like, had her like group of like 4 girlfriends. She was like living the girl's life. And when I moved to New York, it was like when the last season, like, 6B was happening.
Right.
And so like
6B.
B-side.
yeah, I hate that shit. Her and her friends met every Sunday to like watch leading up to the finale. And I had moved here like right when that was starting. So I like watched the last season with her and her friends. And it was kind of like a glimpse into like another world, as if I was like born cis or if I transitioned way earlier or
Yeah.
something, So it was really interesting to rewatch too, because like I'm younger than these girls, but like that, I remember that New York really well.
Let's give a little summary of season 1, episode 2, Vagina Panic. So how does the episode start? It's Hannah and Adam having sex,
Right.
Having
and
crazy sex.
it's a reminder, because we just met these characters, that this isn't going to be a normal show. The sex is going to be not hot and sexy, or it's going to be hot and sexy in a new way.
No, it
Right.
doesn't-
Something that
if you
people
don't
forget
find
is
it-
that before this, the only sex that had ever been on TV was on like PBS, and it was lions.
Yeah.
Now this is the
Wait.
first time you saw humans having sex
That's
on
so
TV.
right, but I do think Sex and the City did invent sex on TV. It's not as intimate as this, but like it's there.
Are they as naked in Sex and the City?
They show butt, they never show dick.
Mm.
And they never show vag. Girls went there.
Yeah.
Girls went there, but not in this
Not
episode.
in this
Not
episode.
Not even in this season. But we got there. We built.
What vag do we see in Girls?
Oh, honey, what vag don't we see in girls?
Honey.
We're gonna be seeing Jessa's, Hannah's, not Allison Williams, because she has it in her contract that she won't be doing
We
that.
don't see Zasha.
And Zasha is the same.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just Hannah and Jessa, but
That's enough.
this
Yeah.
episode.
Me?
This opening scene is establishing that like Adam is dirty talking with Hannah, and then offers her a Gatorade after, and
Yeah,
then there's
orange.
like she's orange
Yeah,
Gatorade.
Orange Gatorade.
And then what happens? They have a lovely conversation where
So there's a conversation around the use of condoms where Hannah is assuming it's like, I'm a reasonable girl and I love to use condoms. All my sexual partners use condoms. And Adam's like, it's so crazy, but girls never ask me to use those things. She's like, but we use them. He goes, I guess we do use them. That's why I never come. It takes me 25 times as long. I
Yeah.
was setting the hell out of Hannah. He goes, oh, you got an angry face. Why are you so upset? Why are you so upset? And then she's like, so this is a very specific view. I won't get deeper into it, but like that we never get to see the side of Adam before. He is so like fuckboy Jerry over here.
You're so right. You're so right. And Also, something that I thought was interesting when I was watching it was like, I do feel like a lot of the world has like come to Jessa's side of things, where like it's like played for laughs and like very unsexy and like very awkward, the like degrading sex and stuff like that. But I feel like people are like, no, sometimes I'd like to be degraded. And I feel like that's kind of where the culture is now. But that was like Adam's very
side
taboo.
Or Jessa's side?
I mean, I don't want to say Adam's side because like he is awkward. But like, I feel like a scene like this wouldn't be written this way because more people feel like how Jessa feels now. Like, it wouldn't be written as like a funny joke that like he dirty talks.
Are you talking about like the udders of it all, where it's like, we're the ladies and men shouldn't bring you to a group of friends to establish?
Yeah.
Like, why if I want to be fucked like I have
what
udders?
If I want to be fucked like I have udders?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
and now
conversation.
I feel like
maybe I hang out with too many trans people. Like, trans women love to be degraded. Do not degrade them if you're cis.
And that is a PSA, but
we go straight from this sex to the other sex.
Yeah.
Right.
So Hannah leaves Adam's apartment feeling kind of scared that maybe the cum has gotten up the sides of the condom. And then we immediately cut to Marnie and her boyfriend Charlie having sex. And Charlie's like trying to be so nice, and Marnie's so over it, not turned on, like almost disgusted by this guy.
She wants to get hit by the back for once.
Yeah, she's like, let's do doggy style. And he's like, don't you hate doggy style? And she's like, no, just do it. And then he's just sitting there above her. She's so over it already. And he's like, oh my God, this feels so good.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, these girls have fun. Cut to them at the park eating ice cream.
Right.
Froyo even.
Froyo.
That's a really important distinction.
We've eaten Froyo together.
These
so
are
I thought
Froyo
about
girls.
that.
Yeah.
These are Froyo girls.
Me and Esther are Froyo girls too.
We've had Froyo.
But they're sitting on the bench. Shoshana opens up this book about how women should be treated when dating. And then they have this whole conversation, but they're all basically planning to be at Jessa's abortion later that day.
Right. Yes. And Jessa is so upset by the whole dialogue because Shoshana keeps insinuating that like, we're the ladies and we should all be following this a distinct code. And Hannah's somewhere in the middle where she's like, I totally agree with you, Jessa. Like, we shouldn't have to be pigeonholed, but like, she actually makes some fair points, and we barely get a view into the mind's eye of a man. And thank God a woman can kind of lead us through that distinction. And it's really pissing Jessa off. She's like, I'm gonna get this abortion, but I want to be a mother one day, and that's okay to say. Yeah,
it's like, it's interesting because like, that book, it's called like Listen Ladies or something like that, right? Like, Listen Ladies, a no nonsense guide. It feels so. I want to like give props to like the like graphic designer. You know, like it was such a good. It looked just like those books. You know,
I was like leaning into my iPad watching. Like, have I read this one?
Yeah, right. Like, it's like there's all these like, it's kind of like this like hetero pessimism, right? This like the rules are this.
I straight up, when I used to work for this porn stars podcast about dating, and there was one week where they had all just written a book basically exactly like this, and they were like, here's how you get a man to treat you like a human being. And it was like, be a bitch.
Yeah.
Don't take shit. And it's like everything Shoshanna was saying in this episode. I'm like, wait, this is what Lana Rhodes was talking about on her podcast.
No, I mean, literally. And the thing is, like, I feel like if you like do those things to a T, they do work. But like, then you've just manipulated a person into something. And it's like, you're not actually with that person. You've got like, you've like got a cut. You've made something happen with another person, but like there's no romance or anything.
And I think it's awesome. And girls should keep it up.
100%.
Watching the show, they always have these like very interesting dialogues that like, thank God we have TikTok, because so many of these stories are now being repeated from like a more human lens. But before that, like you had to turn here to like get like baseline general knowledge about like a nuanced opinion about like some people really like media they're reading, some people hate it, and it's actually okay to hate a book.
Yeah,
you never would have heard that before.
No.
Yeah, totally. Thank God for the show.
Yeah. It's funny too because there's like no queerness in the show, basically, but like the closest thing you get is Jessa, like Jessa being like not into hetero life.
Just
it's dating
like,
is for lesbians.
Dating is for lesbians.
She says
which
dating
really
is for lesbians.
Going on, yeah.
Yeah, so then our next scene that brings us to is Hannah in her insane interview
with Mike Birbiglia.
Mike Birbiglia.
It's going really, really well until Hannah makes a rape joke and people hate that, and then so it doesn't work out.
And then Jessa is at a bar before her planned abortion, and that is not good.
And then cut to the conversation, whatever. Hannah's getting an STD test because she's freaked out about Adam maybe not using a condom. And then Shoshanna reveals that she's a virgin, and Marnie's like, LOL. And Shoshanna is like acting really inappropriate for an abortion. She brought Dylan's candy bar, and she's just like trying to be so lighthearted. And Marnie's like, this is so serious.
Yeah, Shoshanna also reveals she's a sister here, which is like, that's never mentioned again. Whatever.
I know. What
yeah,
the hell?
It's so crazy. She's an only child through and through. Whatever.
And how does the episode end?
Hannah's with the doctor.
Hannah's with the gyno, right?
She's with the gyno. The gyno is having this insane conversation with her.
Yeah.
Hannah brings up that she's afraid of getting AIDS, or maybe she secretly wants AIDS, and the doctor's like, that's really inappropriate.
Not want AIDS.
And then it kind of ends with the doctor being like, you couldn't pay me to be 24 again. And Hannah said, they're not paying me at all.
Such a good line.
And then she says, like, does it hurt? And she's like, only in the ways it's supposed to.
Credits roll. Oh my God. What a perfect episode.
Yeah,
It's such
only in the way
like,
it's supposed to. Produced by Judd Apatow.
Literally. It's such a like almost film within itself, this episode.
It is so good.
The first season's really like that though, because specifically here, it's like all the girls' storylines are so intertwined with one another, and as the show progresses, the girls get more and more individual.
Right.
So it's very cool to like actually see this friend group operate. It's really the crux for this whole show to start
almost
off of.
like we know the structure of Sex and the City is that every episode is kind of a vignette of a different like theme or idea within the dating realm. And it's kind of like this episode of Girls is like that, and it's like we're gonna take the idea of like abortion and like women's sexual health and kind of see each of the four girls' relationship to it specifically.
Well, I think even sex itself. Because something we're really noticing about all these characters except for Jessa is that they have very low body counts. Like Hannah reveals she's only slept with 2.5 men.
Right.
Never slept with
I had
anyone.
that realization too when I was watching it. I was like, I thought they had a lot higher body counts just from like
I mean,
College.
this is
The
an
reputation
HBO
of the show,
This
too,
is an
yeah.
HBO show about
HBO.
girls having sex, and none of them are having it.
Yeah.
Well, that they are.
Well,
but
that's why Jess is so critical as a character, because she's like,
Yeah.
she is the quote unquote slut of it all. Like
She's a
fucking-
Samantha.
She's a Samantha. Like she's fucking the guy in a
Right.
bathroom. Like she's taking control. Like all these other girls are like letting men control the sex conversation, sex economy even. But Jess is actually the one being like, you're coming to bathroom. You're going to do what I tell you to do. I'm bleeding. That's cool. Thank God I had a miscarriage of my own. Mine does not, thank God, but whatever.
No, I mean, that's how she feels. She's
That's
like,
how she
thank God.
feels. Well then, girl, we have a crazy question for you.
What the?
The first time we get to ask someone else.
Girl, what girl are you?
I don't think that anyone is just one girl.
Okay, radical.
I think that everyone is an intersection of two.
Except for Jemima Kirk, who is Jessa.
I'm not talking about the girls themselves.
Okay, what's your intersection?
I'm Marnie and Hannah.
Y-axis, Z-axis. Nope, X.
I like it. No.
Math
Girl,
podcast, math
believe
podcast.
yourself, please.
Okay, so what makes you Marnie and what makes you Hannah?
I feel like, here's the thing. I feel like if I was born cis, I may just be Marnie.
I believe that.
But because I was born trans, because
You
I've
have to
been
be a
through
writer.
shit, I have to be a writer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I am like, and also probably because like it's like the Judaism too, frankly. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like just because like mental health. You know?
Now, what did that mean?
Mental health.
Yeah.
Just because I'm sick in the head.
And that's Hannah
I think you're like
That's Hannah coded.
You're so happy-go-lucky, but you're also a little neurotic, I would say too.
Absolutely.
You kind of have both going on.
And I
which is a
have
weird
my shit
dichotomy.
together, but I also am like
okay.
really lost and scared also.
Yeah, that seems about right for you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm definitely not Shoshanna.
Jessa and Shoshanna don't seem to have much to do with you.
Not much to do with me at all.
I don't know. You're so playful in the Shoshanna way.
That's interesting.
You
That's
touch grass
interesting.
in the same way.
I guess I do have
Would
like a
you
life
vision-
outside of all of my friend groups in the way that Shoshanna does.
We have. What girl are you this week?
In 2023, I'm really Shoshanna vibes. I'm bringing Dylan candy bars for an abortion.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
Yeah.
But I am.
Say it.
I love that place. My dad told me I was going to dyslexic middle school there.
He brought you there to tell you. Yeah.
I cried every single day that summer.
Aww.
But I got a Reese's milkshake out of it, so
Yeah.
everyone's a loser.
I want that so bad.
Yeah. Shoshana.
Well, you have to go to dyslexic middle school.
You have to go to dyslexic middle school.
I think I could crack it.
Well, the Dylan's Candy Bar in New York is closed now.
What?
Rest in peace.
Well, that's what Bonbon's for.
That's what Bonbon's for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what Bonbon's for.
It is.
I think I'm gonna go to Bon Bon today before I go to the movies.
Oh, really?
That's so smart. You going to Williamsburg Cinema?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's right around the corner.
Because I'm right around the corner.
Yeah.
And Amelia, what girl are you?
So I thought about this a lot. In many ways, I'm Shoshanna in that I'm mainly a virgin and love candy. But the way Marnie schedules an abortion and then is such a bitch when people don't show up is so me. Like, I'm like trying so hard to be a good friend, and then my friend has their own life and world that they're going through.
You're making a party full for an abortion.
Literally. Like, and also Marnie, the conversation between Marnie and Charlie at the beginning when Marnie's like, I'm allowed to be mad at you. That's just like, yeah, you're my boyfriend and I hate you. Duh. It's like, it's so me with my friends. It's like I'm sputtering like evil and they're like, are you good? And I'm like, yeah, this is just how we talk because we're besties. And it's like, well, what?
I do think the one thing for you, it's like you might enjoy sex, but you would really enjoy shaming someone about sex if you get them in the bedroom.
Wait, that's a crazy allegation.
But it's not crazy wrong.
What do you think about what do you think about me in the bedroom? What do you think I'm like?
I think you're feisty. I think you're kind of Jessa. You're like, don't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
It's giving like Jessa.
No.
Oh. No, but I like this image. When you wore
none of the girls seem to enjoy sex.
And they shouldn't have to.
No, as we were Andrea Dorcas heads in his house.
Well, they famously say that women aren't really enjoying sex in their 20s. It's when they get in their 30s that it really starts feeling good.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess.
Are you enjoying sex?
Moderately.
Oh, no. Who's it good for?
Who's it good for real?
Who's it good for?
Well, I was watching this scene and with Adam and Hannah, and it's like you actually have to have a little bit of empathy for gay men because you imagine there was 2 Adams in that room? Nothing would ever get done. There'd be no productivity.
Wait, empathy for who?
Like
for what?
Of you, I'm like, you actually have to feel bad for gay men sometimes. One time only.
I see what you're saying.
Instead of Hannah and Adam, can you imagine it's just 2 different Adams in that room?
I see what you're saying.
Nothing emotional would ever happen. It'd be so much distance and just like 2 street hookers.
Are there often like 2 tops like that?
More and more every day as we develop side culture.
Really?
2 atoms in one room. I'm starting to feel like an electron.
Yeah,
Okay,
get that
that is gonna go viral. That
By the way,
so
it didn't.
Good,
and it won't. That's one of my stand-up jokes.
This episode is so cool because it shows like a group of young 20-somethings rallying behind their friend who has decided that abortion's the right choice for them and seeing like how they can be supportive even though it's kind of like a random situation. Like the line where Hannah's telling Adam, like, I have to accompany my friend to an abortion, which is super chill and normal. And then Adam's like, is it normal? And then Marnie is like, this is actually really serious for me. Like, I feel deeply affected. And then Shoshanna is like trying to like be like, oh yeah, like what is the like unspoken rules of like how you should act towards everyone.
Do you think Jessa might have kept the baby? Like, I think part of this conversation is like Jessa actually never gets an abortion and she just has a miscarriage and she's happy about that. But like, she was too nervous to actually ever like fully make the choice. Like, Marnie set the abortion up for her. She wasn't going to show up potentially. Like, there's a storyline where like Jessa actually had the child. Like,
was avoidant for so long that she ends up having the baby.
Yeah, of course. That sounds like a very Jessa thing to happen.
It's interesting because like, I do feel like it was this interesting moment like politically where people were trying to figure out what these conversations were, you know what I mean? Like I feel like this was also like in the era of like BuzzFeed making all these like listicles of like how not to react when your friend comes out as gay, you know what I mean? Like really trying to like figure out the rules for these like social taboos, wanting to break them down, but sort of like they walked so that like Gen Z could run.
Totally. Like this is the millennial exploration of like women in the 2010s relationship to their own autonomy.
Yeah.
And like how it's still like, it's definitely like this new placement from these older shows like Sex and the City, not to bring it up too much this episode,
no,
but
okay.
It is like there was certain conversations about what was happening in the 90s with women's liberation, and this is such a 2010s times capsule of like how this conversation is still so like not super talked about, or there's not like this set and society accepted like route of it all.
It's still so taboo. Like it's still something that like they're working through so much shame just to like have the conversation with each other. They're all having all these reactions and being like, well, I don't know about that, and like leaving the bench, you know what I mean? Like it just is triggering so much.
It's triggering
Can you
a lot
guys think
of
of another show where they had an abortion? Especially like in this most intimate, like in actually like going to an abortion clinic and not just saying like I had an abortion, but like actually going through the process of like
setting the appointment.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, I grew up in Texas too, and I had some like views about abortion. I don't know about you. Not like crazy.
I remember like reading out this poem in middle school to my stepmom.
Oh my God.
About it's like this poem where it's like from the POV of the baby that was aborted by their mother, and I just remember like being like, "Isn't this terrible?" And my stepmom was rolling her eyes like, "No."
That's so funny.
So growing up in New York, the conversation of abortion is like there wasn't one. Right? Like I grew up in a very liberal part of New York, but like I don't think I truly understood like what an abortion was. Like I knew the concept, but like I didn't actually understand the process like till college. Like you're not introduced to something where it's like liberal concepts or like concepts around sex and like identity until you're in college. Where like there's one radical girl who's kind of sharing it with the rest. Thank God for her ass.
Did you not have any pregnant girls at your high school?
Potentially, but I grew up in a community that was like very much like image oriented. So it's like it's wealthy Jewish families. Like if a child like drank more than 4 times, like they would go to rehab for a summer.
Oh my gosh.
Or like disappear from class for a whole year. And you're like, where did they go? And it's like they're at rehab. They're at the wilderness program.
I'm just like, in Texas, it's so teen mom. Like, we literally have a school in our district where anytime like a woman gets pregnant, they transfer to that school in the district because there's like free daycare so they can finish high school. Like,
can I ask like what like tax bracket, like what economic kind of?
I think the median like household income of like my school district was probably around like $80,000.
Yeah. I feel like my school was public school, but it was like, I mean, it was very segregated, but like the white people were like pretty wealthy.
Yeah.
And so I never saw any like pregnant white girls.
In the context of this show, all these girls were raised in a way where it's like, yeah, they would probably be getting abortions.
And it's so interesting too, because like, yeah, they are like liberal, upper class white women, and even for them it's like so hard to have these conversations.
That conversation between Hannah and Jessa is also an amazing way to establish their friendship, because Jessa's freaking out but she can't say that, so she's like becoming mad about like these like higher, wider, more like thematical truths rather than being like, I'm freaking out about my abortion today. And Hannah's ability to be like, are you scared? Are you mad? Are you mad at me? And Jessa's Jessa even says, stop looking into my eyes. Like, stop looking at me so much, which is so real. Like, when you're young and you're feeling too seen, when you're feeling vulnerable, like her shutting it down is so relatable.
So real.
And it showcases like in this nuanced way, like, yeah, she is freaking out. Like, she's going to go have a white Russian and fuck a random guy because she does not know how to deal with what she's feeling.
That's easier.
It's a conversation around like short-term pleasures versus long-term joy. Like you're fucking the guy, you're having to drink, like that feels good in a moment and you think that's what true happiness can be, but it's actually just a obscursion from like how you can actually find actual happiness day in and day out.
It's such a good show too about like like liberalism
period.
And like, because,
and we'll cut to a break with that.
But like
Judd Apatow produced.
But it's like all these girls, like they kind of know, they have like their talking points on this stuff. But even like we said, like even those are kind of like surrounded by shame. But it's like once they're actually in the situation, then it's like, then they're like, oh, wait, what do we do? You know what I mean? I do feel like this foreshadows a lot of stuff about these girls, this second episode. I thought about Shoshanna's future. I was like, yeah, these girls don't appreciate her. Like, she clearly doesn't fucking fit in here. And also the anxiety around this, like, she pretends to be so cool and collected about this abortion, but it's bringing things up for her. And later we see her OCD, and I wonder if that sort of manifests in this episode in like her hypochondria.
No, it totally
because
does.
she's so scared she has AIDS.
Yeah.
And
it's part of it.
It's like because she doesn't know how to like talk to Adam. Instead, she like spirals in anxiety about this, like, well, what if this is happening?
Well, this is a great example of like where Lena and Hannah are like, he's writing about herself in such an intimate way. And this is like why the character of Hannah is so deeply interesting, because it's truly based off like Lena's interesting dynamic with herself.
Yeah.
Like she is someone who has suffered with OCD and like is very hypochondriac, like was in and out of like therapy her whole life growing up. Especially around like worried that she was always sick. Like she was staying home from school like constantly because she's like she just like thought she woke up with cancer. You know, and like obviously it's not true, but like she just like this is an interesting parallel because she's like the line at the end where she's like, it only hurts in the way it's supposed to. It's like, what is that specific conversation?
Lena Dunham had said that she literally used to have this huge fear of getting AIDS. Like it was a genuine childhood fear. And so she just wrote that in the episode. And I think when this episode originally aired, people were like, that's crazy that she's saying that. And she's like, well, it's the truth, mama.
Yeah.
Well, she grew up in New York.
Had it too. Like I remember when we had like, what's the word? Like celibacy, like talks at my Catholic church.
Slay. Because
I am Jewish, but I'm also Catholic.
You can do both.
You can do both. We exist.
You shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's so Hannah Horvath.
It is.
Half wasp, half
it's
Jewish.
Hannah Marnie.
It's Hannah Marnie.
But like we were told, we're like, oh, you think you can't get AIDS just from kissing? You know how sometimes when you brush your teeth, there's a little blood that comes out? What if you just brushed your teeth and then someone you were kissing just brushed their teeth and then a little blood came out, right? And then you got AIDS.
That's why you should never eat
And then I had like a panic attack the next day. I remember I was like in the front seat of my mom's car and I was like shaking. I was like, oh God.
How old were you?
12 or 13.
Oh my God.
I also was really into Rent at this time.
Right.
So it was like, it's like, it was like.
And why did you move to New York again?
I had seen Rent like 12 times.
Yeah.
Half the reason.
So Marnie. Lena Dunham was like raised by these artist parents who probably had a lot of like queer friends and probably like grew up during like the AIDS crisis in New York.
Right.
So it actually makes complete sense that like there is this like fear about that, and like she's drawing from that exact experience, even though it's like we're kind of making fun of these girls for seeing Rent and thinking they could have AIDS,
right?
But it's like it is like the lasting effects of like the fear of like the AIDS crisis.
Well, it's also really fucking important to not get AIDS, and everyone could get it. You know what I mean? Also, for the record. But like,
what were you saying about tortilla chips?
Oh yeah, you're not supposed to eat tortilla chips before you do oral because you could get AIDS.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Who told you that?
James.
Oh, our friend James.
Yeah, because it's like it can cut your mouth open. So it's like you think oral sex is a lower risk of having getting AIDS or contracting HIV from it.
But not if you eat tortilla chips.
Or
other sharp food.
Yeah, I will straight up say
you literally just eat yogurt before you give head. I've always been saying this, and I'm gonna live and die by it. The sex talk we got in like 4th grade, and it was just like about periods. There was also mention of like you cannot share razors or you will get AIDS, and I'm like, okay, I was 9 with that in my mind. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah, it is really crazy. Like AIDS was such like a well, okay,
say it.
Just say it.
A godsend.
Whoa.
It was not a godsend. Let me finish my sentence, but I stopped myself because I was like,
finish your sentence.
That's what preachers said.
Hurry up and say this.
AIDS was a godsend for like people who like to fearmonger about sex. They were like, oh, thank God. Now I can be like,
right.
Fuck the gays and fuck. You know what I'm saying?
It was
No,
an
absolutely.
amazing
I'm
way
like-
to push the heteropatriarchy agenda.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And on that
the pedagogy really thrived off of AIDS
Yeah.
and pushing its message.
Something really before you.
No, please.
Yeah. What you said about Hannah, about Lena probably like living in the wake of the AIDS crisis more. It made me think about, were y'all here for the beginning of the pandemic? Like in 2020?
Oh,
Were you
I was-
here? Okay.
I was in call.
I do feel like New Yorkers like experienced
was-
the pandemic
You
in
know
a
what?
much more
Actually,
intense way than
I
everyone
was in
else.
Westchester, so it's a
Okay.
little different. But like
Okay.
I know exactly. It was like because all our local news was kind of covering the
Yeah.
whole sector at the time. It was so much more intense here.
It was so much
Going
more
to-
intense here. And there were like
6 months later,
nonstop
yeah.
ambulances like for so long.
I
I
grew up
remem-
right next to New Rochelle, where the first quarantine in the United States was.
Okay.
And it was only like 0.5 miles from my house in Westchester. So my mom couldn't even like go to the grocery store because it was completely shut off that area. Because it was like that specific Jewish community like had truly just like run through COVID.
It makes sense that like people in New York would have had like perhaps a lingering AIDS anxiety past when people in Ohio would have it.
And let's talk about
That's
ACT
all.
Up New York next.
Let's talk about ACT UP New York.
Well, I talked about OCD earlier, where it's like Hannah as a specific character is so interested in herself. Like Marnie's having this very strong reaction to Jessa's abortion. Like, I don't know why you're not freaking out, Hannah, but Hannah is a character who's so self-obsessed or like so deeply like inward that like she's worried about getting AIDS or like what's coming up the side of the condom. Like actually so worried about like what her actual process is, like getting this STD check, and not like actually worried about her friend Jessa, who seems actually really hesitant to get this abortion.
Right.
And Marnie's like, this is the most traumatic thing that a woman can go through, which is like interesting. But it is like, that's a really interesting dichotomy between the characters. Is like, does Marnie actually care so much, or it's like, is she just internalizing what an abortion would be for her?
Right.
And like, she's being supportive, but she's kind of doing this performative supportiveness for Jessa by like planning all this. And like, I'm this type A girl who's gonna get it done, but she doesn't like actually emotionally care about Jessa that much. Like, that's really been established, where Hannah's always been like the emotional vessel
Right.
for Jessa, but like she's actually not actively doing anything so good. It's like, who in this situation throughout the whole, like, what is a more beneficial thing? Is it planning abortion, or is it being there for the person who had the abortion?
I think all the girls are trying their best, and their
Yeah.
best isn't
Yeah.
very good.
No.
Period.
Mic drop. Ring, ring,
Ring,
ring.
ring.
It's
quota
quota clock.
Oh
What
my
were some
God.
standout quotes from the
You
episode?
get scared. I don't even have my phone.
Okay, well,
Wait, I take out my phone because I put my quotes on there.
Okay. What was a standout quote for you, Esther?
a standout quote was, I loved when Marnie on the phone with Hannah was like, okay, crazy one. That was so funny to me.
When your bestie's having an OCD issue and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, crazy one. Perfect
Literally
response.
Perfect.
That's how you be there for your friend.
I feel really seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel like when I'm supporting my friends with their mental health, I will act in that way.
Yeah.
I'm like, ear nuts. Let's get you to a doctor.
Let's go. Yeah.
I love the line when Hannah is talking to Marnie about how she's just had like dirty, mean sex with Adam, and Marnie's like, Adam cannot do that. He's not your boyfriend, which is suggesting that the only thing in the way of Hannah being degraded by this guy is the label of boyfriend.
Oh my
That is
God.
really
That's an
funny.
amazing
That is
concept.
really funny.
I love when Marnie and Hannah are talking about Jessa's abortion, and it's like, I don't know, she could like keep the baby if she wants, whatever is like best for her. And she's like, what? She's gonna take her baby to her babysitting job? Love it.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
She did a little wordplay there. It's like, oh, thank God. She doesn't even have a job yet.
Okay, this made me laugh so much when they're talking about the book Shoshanna's reading, and Jessa's like, I
Yeah.
can't believe you fucking read that book, Hannah. It's such trash. And she was like, it was a moment of desperation at the Detroit airport. It's like, yeah, when I'm at an airport, I am behaving in a way that like
Yeah.
sober me would be
Never.
appalled by.
It's location,
Absolutely.
location too.
Yeah.
It's
That
like
makes a joke.
I'm stealing candy. I'm reading an audiobook I never would normally read. Like
Yeah.
I'm feeling so random and like ORD.
I love in the Mike Birbiglia interview when they go into the most like hack jokes about hipsters from that age. They're like, why are they called mixologists? And they're wearing their little vests. And he's like, yes.
They are having fun.
They're having a good time.
I want to go to a bar where the average patient can be described as crotchety.
They really say the word crotchety.
They love the word.
Gun to my head, can't spell that.
I want to try.
Okay, do it.
CROTCHETY.
Okay, there's no way for us to correct you because we don't know how to spell it. So I'm like, you did it, Esther.
We're
girl.
gonna do 2 takes. Yeah, you
Yay.
did it. You've been removed from the spelling bee.
I'm gonna do 2 takes. Amazing. No.
And Amelia, you can fix all that in post, girl.
I keep it all in.
It's a bummer because she ruined it. Oh, when Marnie is so devastated that Jessa doesn't show up to her abortion, she's like, it's just a bummer because she ruined it. And Hannah's like, you're a really good friend and you threw a really good abortion.
That's a
threw a
classic
beautiful abortion.
quote. That's one of the top like 20 girls quotes, I feel like. Just you threw a really good abortion.
When I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to remember that quote.
Me too.
Really?
Probably, knowing me.
Oh, well, I hope no follow-up. Any others? I guess like We Are the Ladies, of course. That's the show.
Avi,
around
we're the
world.
ladies.
Yeah. I tried to go for quotes that kind of like made me laugh, but weren't necessarily quotable, like Okay Crazy one.
Yeah.
I also loved when Shoshanna admitted that she was a virgin. She was like, everyone and their mother has had sex. Which is like such a way that like a virgin would say that. Like, everyone and their mother.
Oh my
Literally,
God.
because it's like moms have to.
Moms have to
is the other piece.
Well, not all.
Do they? Well, yeah. Mainly.
Not Mary.
All right. It's time for our last segment. That
Outfit in Brooklyn. That's where care of Brooklyn then. Versus Brooklyn now.
You know, I think we already did it a lot with
The
TikTok.
abortion is like the big conversation here. We kind of did that the whole app.
Yeah.
Are you disappointed?
No, I'm glad we got.
No, we did it organically.
We're actually just so good at this pod.
So wait, now
Only
we're just
2
talking about
episodes in.
outfits?
Okay, you know
You
what?
can do any cultural comparison.
Any cultural moments that felt very 2000, very period piece. One that I wrote down was Cobble Hill is still grown up. So this is the conversation Mike Birbiglia's character and Hannah were having about like they both live in Brooklyn, but Hannah lives in Greenpoint and Mike Birbiglia lives in Cobble Hill. And Hannah's like, oh, that's like grown up Brooklyn. And it's like Cobble Hill is still grown up Brooklyn, but Greenpoint has also become grown up Brooklyn because it's
most
so
of Williamsburg
priced.
is too.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Whereas like now Hannah would actually have to live in Bushwick, I fear.
100%.
Yeah.
I think she's a Bed-Stuy girl.
Or Bed-Stuy.
Yeah.
Honestly, I do think she's Bushwick, if I can be honest with you.
Thank you so much for
Way to go there. And then, famously, Dylan's candy bar is gone.
Dylan's candy bar is gone. That's a big one.
Has it been replaced? Like, what would Shoshanna
we were
bring
saying Bon Bon.
today? Bon Bon?
Bon
Yeah,
Bon.
we already said.
Yeah, she'd bring Bon Bon for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Swedish candy. It's kind of the new general candy store.
Yeah.
Do you think the conversation around abortion has shifted that much? I feel like it didn't feel super dated, this premise.
Well,
I feel like
they had more access to abortions than verse now.
Literally.
Which is an interesting point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually had to shift because there's so much less contraception.
I feel like there's less shame around it, but
Yeah.
there's less access
to it.
There's less shame, but there's less access.
I agree.
That's devastating,
Yeah,
really.
truly devastating.
But hopefully this podcast episode will feel
We'll
like a
turn things
period
around.
piece.
Yes.
And people listening to this today, things have shifted since.
They'll be like, that talking point in 2024?
Yeah. Anything else that stood out? I think
Frankly,
like
Mike
outfit.
Birbiglia's presence. For me, he certainly feels like a throwback to see
Yeah.
him as a guest star on a show.
Yeah. What was
Totally.
he
This
doing?
was around
back
this
then?
period of like Sleepwalk with Me. Back when he was like, back when This American Life was
Right.
This American Life and WTF were the only podcasts, and he was like on every other episode of This American Life, basically.
Because he's a storyteller.
Yeah.
He really is. I think the conversation around Adam giving Hannah Gatorade, no one would do that today. He'd be giving her kombucha. Gatorade is so out of
Celsius.
like
Or
Liquid
Pedialyte.
IV. Pedialyte.
yeah, it's so Pedialyte.
Pedialyte is on the up and up in
It
this
really
town.
is. We had a party here the other week, Every can here was like a White Claw or a Pedialyte. People are drinking in the middle of drinking.
Yeah.
Which I think it's interesting.
But it would be like CVS. You'd be like, hey, do you want electrolyte beverage?
Yeah. Electrolyte beverage is so rich.
And I actually love Hannah's outfit as she's leaving Adam's apartment, which is a sentence you'll barely ever hear me say on this podcast, I assume. But like, I love her dress, the way it is corseted in the middle and that really fun floral pattern. And she's wearing like leggings kind of underneath, or like her stockings. And that look is really in today. Baby doll dress, floral print, vintage vibes with leggings. She did something.
Totally. And that cardigan color, it's like this like burnt red kind of thing. That doesn't so happen so much.
No.
We've gone neon since COVID because of the Y2K like nostalgia wave. But I will say all these outfits are very, very 2012 because everyone's in business casual. I mean, Shoshanna is 21 and a student. What the hell is she doing in that dress?
You're so right. You're so right.
Marnie's in like a 3-piece dress.
What was up with
What
that?
the
Marnie's
heck?
hair's clipped back in a way you would never see today.
And even Jessa is like wearing like those pants with the belt and the blazer. It's nuts.
We're more liberated now.
We're freer now.
We're freer now, which is like, I think speaks to the like some of the abortion conversation in this. It's like there's all this shame. All politics was so much more like assimilationist. You know what I mean?
Totally.
We're all so radical now.
Well, this is what to thank millennials for, honestly.
We
really
really
we're the first
do.
people to speak like openly about their emotions online and like in a public way. Like they dropped the mask from like outside to inside. Like they were just fully themselves.
So now we can be so fucking demented.
Yeah, literally.
Lena,
hedonistic.
We've really
thanks for moving the
it.
needle, girl. You were ahead of your time. And that's why we're so excited to honor you in this podcast series.
One conversation I'm always having in my head. Oh, sorry. People are a lot more sober now. So the idea of day drinking is just like totally out of the zeitgeist. Like Jessa couldn't walk into a bar at 1 p.m. and just like have like
a white Russian with milk?
Literally.
Come on, we don't do milk.
Russian?
Yeah, it's with milk. Yeah. Or it's like a cream-based drink.
It is cool that they show the milk
No,
around her mouth
sober.
because she's like trying to infantilize herself.
Well, you know what it is?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like she's feeling like
writing.
she's being forced to like grow up, and so she's like having this cup of milk because she really doesn't want to be forced to make this adult choice.
That is really brilliant.
Lena's a genius.
That is.
Jessa also has a flip phone. Did we catch that?
How does that connect?
Wait, that's really brilliant.
Yeah, Jessa has a flip phone and she shuts it closed.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, all other characters have iPhones, but she has flip phone.
Yeah,
We
and
still have friend groups with different kinds of iPhone, kinds of phones. Now every friend group is either like Android or iPhone.
Right.
Shoshanna even says like, "Oh, you can't really text her. Like she doesn't. She calls text messages like
word alerts.
Word alerts.
That is funny.
Wordle.
Okay, we do have to close out. Esther, thank you so much for being our first guest.
Where can people find you?
Let's one of us talk at a time. You want to do the end?
Esther, thank you so much for being on the pod. We love you so much.
Oh, I
it's
love
such
y'all.
a brilliant conversation.
This is so fun.
Thank you so much for being our very first guest.
I know.
Where can people find you?
You can find me doing comedy all around Brooklyn and a little bit in Manhattan, sure. You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok. I don't have Twitter. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok.
What's your at?
At Esther Fallick.
Thank you all so much for tuning into our second episode. We can't wait for next week when we dive into episode 3, All Adventurous Woman
Oh
Do.
my God, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.